Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Got a brand new announcement for the upcoming campaign expansion for Marvel Champions. This is the Age of Apocalypse. I'm looking forward to talking about my thoughts, looking at my initial impressions on these new cards live. So I have not seen anything. I've just seen the cover art, seeing Apocalypse, and it looks like Bishop and Magik. So looking forward to looking at their hero kits, the neutral cards, the encounter sets, the aspects, and then at the end, I'll talk about my most anticipated for each of those categories. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It's the best way to help us grow. And for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the continuous support. Let's talk about all of these brand new cards and hopefully some amazing encounter sets for the Marvel Champions card game. If you have any comments or want to know anything during the live stream, please let me know right now and I'll make sure to respond to them here. And if you'd like to ask any questions later, I'll make sure to be around in the comments and we can discuss these upcoming brand new cards for Marvel Champions. So without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about all of the brand new cards. Now, whenever I take a look at these different preview articles, I don't ever read the article on camera. So we're going to look at each card at face value in a bubble, and that's before seeing other information. So potentially we can even predict what's going to be showing up. So I have not seen any of these. Let's take a look at the article. So this is the Age of Apocalypse, standard campaign box, it looks like. And as mentioned before, it looks like we have Magik and Bishop on the front and at least one encounter for Apocalypse. So let's take a look at the cards. Oh my gosh, look at all these colors. Goldballs! And Malcolm. All right. And yep, right in forefront, Bishop and Magik. So let's take a look and we'll start with Unus. So it looks like we're going to be starting off with 63 cards to go through. And this is going to be some of the encounter sets. So first villain here is Unus. Unus, 1 scheme, 2 attack. Stage 1, Prelate, toughness. If the amount of threat on Gene Pool is at least 3, it gets Retaliate. 6, it gets Stalwart. 9, it also gets a extra encounter icon symbol. So this character seems to scale up as time goes on. Seems pretty cool. So there's reasons to manage the threat outside of just having it continue. I'm curious how big this is actually going to be. Moving forward, we have Infinite Soldier, Minion, 1 scheme to attack, 3 health, Infinite, Guard, if the amount of threat. Okay, looks like this is a trend for all of this. I like this design philosophy. I think it's cool to have characters scale based on how well they're doing. And so it gives you an incentive to manage the threat while also dealing damage. And maybe you can even ignore these characters if you're able to remove the threat as much. Guard, if the amount of threat is at least 3, it gets Quick Strike, Surge, and +3 hit points. This is kind of nasty, actually, because these can be huge threats. And I imagine the more you play this, you'll anticipate what the power level of each of these minions is going to be based on how much threat you're leaving. So it's another risk where if you give up thwarting something and you get to that 3 threshold, you're looking like potentially taking some extra damage. So I feel like this as a concept and philosophy and design, and I hope that I see more of these cards. Moving forward, here's that scheme, Gene Pool. Apocalypse uses the raw genetic materials of his victims to create the infinites. Permanent setup, force response. After an ally is defeated by anything other than consequential damage, place 3 threat here. So if I remember correctly, permanents, even if you defeat them, they're never going away. So this thing's just going to constantly accrue. So it's an even bigger incentive to just ignore it because there's nothing really you got to worry about it. This is just increasing the power of all those minions and those villains. This is an awesome encounter set, and I love the way this is working. And it already starts set up with 4 threat on it, so it's activating that first activation window of all of those minions that have the extra effects from having things on Gene Pool. This is a cool concept. Moving forward, we have attached to Unus the Prelate Side-Arm. Forced response after Unus attacks and defeats an ally. Place 1 threat on Gene Pool. Just makes it a bigger threat. After you make a basic attack, Unus spend these resources, discard it. Standard stuff, nothing we haven't seen before. We're going to move on. Moving forward, we have Hunting Gene Traitors. This is our first scenario, looks like. Prelate Unus and his squad of infinites scour the ruins of the X-Mansion for the enemies of Apocalypse. 11 threat per player. Forced response after resolving step 1 of the villain phase. Place 1 threat on Gene Pool. Awesome. So this is going to just continuously push threat on both of these schemes, giving you something to divide your attention with. And if you complete it, lose the game. Nothing else insane out of this. I think it makes sense with that, showing off that new Gene Pool mechanism. Number 6, evacuate survivors. Side scheme, mission. And this is from the mission side scheme, mission encounter set. This is kind of fun. Mission, forced response. After you resolve a mission attempt, place 1 damage counter here and deal 1 damage to each ally at the mission. Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to have to look up what this keyword does. If there are 4 attempt counters here, remove mission team from the game and flip this card over. When defeated, shuffle each player card at the mission into the owner's deck. Flip mission team and this card over. Fascinating. So we're going to have to take a look at what missions are. All right. These missions take the form of special mission side schemes, such as evacuate survivors, which can only be thwarted by the allies that you send to take care of them. These allies form your mission team and won't be able to help you deal with the villain while they're away. They also don't count towards your ally limit. Fascinating. So you have characters that are going to go to these missions and they are outside of your play area. That's a cool concept. So you've assembled this squad and they're going to go deal with their own mission. So let's take a look at what that mission team is. It's a support. Mission team cannot be discarded and the first player gains control of it. Oh, it's an extra card. So reminder 2. Okay, action, exhaust mission team. Choose, reduce the cost of the next ally played to the mission by 2, or make a mission attempt. That's an interesting concept, having this additional pool of things that you're putting allies into, giving them more versatility. I think that's a cool concept. So we'll see how it plays into the rest of the scenario designs. Moving forward, we have Sugarman. This is Victory 5, Elite, and Overseer. Cannot take damage while another minion is at the mission. Mission response, after you discard cards, heal 3 damage from Sugarman for each physical resource discarded. Oh my gosh. So after you discard cards, heal 3 damage from Sugarman for each physical resources discarded. So let's take a look at this one more time. Okay. So the way they work. Heroes rely on their allies to handle special missions. Around the global, these missions take the form of special mission side schemes. They can only be thwarted by the allies you send. These allies form your mission team, and you won't be able to deal with the main villain while they're away. Side missions come with their own rules, as well as oversee mins, such as Sugarman, that get in your way. It can be challenging to defeat them, but the effort is worth it. In addition to special campaign rewards that can aid you later, you can also get an immediate benefit depending on the current side mission. For example, when you defeat evacuate survivors, it flips over and lets you pull any card you want from your deck or discard piles. So this is evacuate survivors and lets you get anything you want. Okay. So I think that there probably are more rules around this, but I do like this concept. I guess we'll have to wait to see more. And its mission team also has another side on its backside. So I'm not going to worry too much about this, but I do like this concept of multi-purpose allies. And moving forward, we have a new standard 3. Oh my gosh. Let's look at what this is. Oh no. Oh gosh, if you've played Standard 2 Expert 2, you know that this is a gigantic spike in difficulty. So I'm curious if this is going to be somewhere in the middle, or maybe it's going to be something even more extreme than that already was. Speaking of threats, there's a new standard encounter set in this expansion as well, the Standard 3 set. It serves as a side grade to the original by changing how Nemesis enter play. Instead of Shadows of the Past, from the normal standard set, the set provides the permanent environment pursued by the past. So this card here, permanent setup, forced response after you play a pursuit counter here. If the number of counters here is at least 3, then remove each. If your Nemesis minion is in play, it activates against you. Otherwise, flip this card over. After you flip to the side, find your Nemesis, reveal it, search the set-aside area for your Nemesis side scheme, reveal it, shuffle your remaining set-aside Nemesis cards in the counter deck, flip this card over. So this is always just going to be there, which is a cool concept. I love when these encounter sets lean into your Nemesis, because seeing them, I think, is a bit more thematic flair, and it allows you to utilize the cards from each hero, and you don't get to see them all the time. So I love that this is a way to integrate that even more. So Pursued by the Past is going to start on the board, so I imagine some of the other cards in the Standard 3 set will create these pursuit counters. Pursued by the Past. So Dark Designs, Treachery. When revealed, place a pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. Then if it has any counters on it, the villain schemes. Awesome. So this is a cool change on Advance, and I think this makes a lot of sense as they're going sideways as opposed to just making it more difficult. Because if it summons your character, it becomes Shadows of the Past, but if it doesn't, it becomes an Advance. This is an awesome way to approach this, as it's different, but also something that you're planning for and can anticipate. This is super cool. I'm loving this design space for Standard 3 already. Moving to Sinister Strike. When revealed, alter ego. Place a pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. Then if it has counters on it, it gains Surge. So, okay. And then when revealed, hero. Place a pursuit counter on it. Then if it has any counters on it, the villain attacks you. This is awesome. This is Assault, but just the version that also puts pursuit counters on the board. Evil Alliance. When revealed, each Nemesis minion in play activates against you. That's kind of fun in multiplayer. If no minions activated this way, place 3 pursuit counters on Pursued by the Past. So this is just another Shadows of the Past, or another activation for Nemesis minions, but also in a different way. It compounds, gives you a reason to go after the different Nemesis minions. Next, we have another scenario, and this is 4 Horsemen. I know that some people were anticipating potentially having separate scenarios for each of the 4 Horsemen, but it looks like they went this route with putting them all into just one big scenario. So the 4 Horsemen scenario: 1 scheme, 2 attack for war here. A side, Horsemen. Force response: after war attacks you, if you have at least 1 hit point, discard an upgrade or support you control. That's devastating, so you want to get some of those 0 costs. War cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point, similar to the Mad Titan's Shadow, with how they're able to, you can get them down, but you have to sort of kill them all at the same time. War can't be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. So it looks like this one has to be killed last, based on the other stuff that's being said. Famine, 2 scheme, 1 attack, A side, Horseman. Forced response: after Famine attacks you, if she has at least 1 hit point, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Famine can't be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. Okay. All right. After Famine attacks. Okay. So 1 is discarding cards from your deck. 1 is going to be discarding your upgrades or supports. Let's see what the next one is. Pestilence, A, 2 scheme, 1 attack. Horseman: after Pestilence attacks you, she has at least 1 hit point. Treat your identity's text box as if it were blanked until the villain phase begins. Ooh, that's kind of gross. And this is just after they attack you. They don't have to do damage or anything like that. So this is when they attack, this thing happens, you get blanked. Oh, that's brutal. And then last one, Death. Villain: 1 scheme, 2 attack, aerial, Horseman. Forced response: after Death attacks you, if he has at least 1 hit point, deal 1 damage to each character you control. Death can't be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. And they'll have a pretty low hit point value: 9, 9, 9, and 9. So no change on any of them. But looking at these, they seem like just threats that you're going to have to deal with. And you have to find some plan to deal with all of their varied abilities. Taking something that can take the damage, being able to get those key cards potentially from discard pile. All right. And then attachment for this one: Golden Horse. Item tech: attach the villain with the fewest hit points without aerial. Attached gains aerial and is considered to have at least 1 hit point. That's kind of fun. It turns on the activation conditions. Hero response: after you attack attached villain, resolve its force response as if it just attacked you. Discard this card. So having to take more consequences. I like that it's not just exhaust yourself to get rid of, though, or pay a resource. It's something different. Metal Wings attachment: item tech. Attach to Death and move the active counter to him. Death gains retaliate 1 and is considered to have at least 1 hit point remaining, +1 scheme, +1 attack. Hero response: after you attack Death, resolve his force response as if he just attacked you. Discard this card. Okay, so this is the one that is specific for Death because it already has the aerial trait, so this one allows you to actually give it a secondary attachment. Rough Rider's Treachery. When revealed, resolve the force response on the active villain as if it has at least 1 hit point and attacked you. Ugh. Move the active counter to the next villain and resolve its force response the same way. So this is a double terrible activation, and this reminds me of the Sinister 6 set, where it's always going to be bouncing around, and so you're getting a bit of terrible things every so often. And you have to kill all of them, right, in order to actually get rid of them one by one. So they are all going to be persistent threats while this is the scenario we're playing. And then we get to Apocalypse. So this is our big bad, I imagine. Maybe it's going to be like Mad Titan's Shadow, where Loki shows up. But Apocalypse here. Villain: 1 scheme, 2 attack, mutant, toughness. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat from it, ignoring any crisis icons. Flip this card and reveal Apocalypse 2. When the main scheme is completed, remove all the threat, and then flip this card. So let's see if it shows us its second level. Mutant, steady, toughness. Forced interrupt. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat from it, ignoring crisis icons. Remove this card from the game and reveal Apocalypse 3. So Apocalypse is getting stronger if they're doing their scheme. Level 3, 2 scheme, 3 attack. Mutant, steady, toughness. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat. It's level 4. Okay, same thing. Level 4 is Stalwart toughness. He reached the final form. He's immune. Apocalypse gains overkill. Brutal. When the main scheme is completed, the players lose the game. Okay. This is interesting. Let's see what the scheme does, because this pretty much could have just been on the main scheme, right? We'll see. Okay. Let's see the scheme. The Age of Apocalypse. X per player. Interesting. The time has come for a direct assault on the Apocalypse in his towering citadel. X is the numeral in Apocalypse's printed hit point value. Okay, that's interesting. So that is a direct use of actually leveling up Apocalypse. Forced interrupt: when Apocalypse would be defeated, discard each attachment from him, heal all damage from him instead. Move X threat from this scheme. Ignore any crisis icons. So it gives you an alternative way to deal with the threat on here. Also a way to get rid of attachments. I wonder if this will be like Hela, where the attachments are awful, and so you want to make sure you're timing that flip just in case, so that way you can get the most advantage of being able to get rid of these attachments. And I do like that it's another way of being able to potentially deal with the scheme, with a threat on the scheme, if there are a bunch of those hazard icons that you got to deal with. So a way to circumvent that. Heart of the Empire side scheme. Before you can challenge Apocalypse, you must fight your way through this tower. Threat cannot be removed from the scheme while a Prelate minion is in play. When defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside Prelate minion. Deal each other player an encounter card. Flip this card over. This card is brutal. My gosh. So this is one you kind of don't want to defeat. But you got it. Threat can't be removed from... Oh, no. I guess you could. This one's not that bad. That's a pretty big hindrance for actually getting rid of this. Towering Citadel. Threat cannot be removed from the scheme while the Prelate minion is in play. First player, if it's defeated, first player reveals a minion. Set aside a random... When defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside Prelate minion. Deal each other player an encounter card, reveal the Tyrant's Throne side scheme, and remove this card from the game. Oh boy. So lots of these awful, awful results. Tyrant's Throne. Threat cannot be removed from the scheme while the Prelate minion's in play. When defeated, the first player reveals a random set-aside Prelate minion. It's the same thing. Flip this card over and reveal no longer worthy. And do we get to see it? Aha! Attach to Apocalypse and heal 5 per player hit points from him. He cannot take damage while a Prelate minion is in play. Ignore the Forced Interrupt on the main scheme. Ah, nice. Forced Interrupt. When Apocalypse is defeated, the players win the game. Awesome. So this is your actual way to defeat some Magneto-esque, where you have this secondary objective that you need to complete that will eventually weaken Apocalypse. And in this case, it doesn't actually give you a incredible ability, but it just allows you to win the game. So here's your win condition. You got to make sure you bust these schemes, be able to take on these huge waves of additional encounter cards and minions, and hopefully survive. So, okay, I can see how this will play. I want to know what some of the cards are, because the stuff in between also has to be fun, right? Okay, well, we don't get to see those yet. We move straight into the hero cards, starting with Bishop. Lucas Bishop, 4 recovery alter ego. Hand size 6, hit points 12. Mutant Temporal, love it. Temporarily displaced. As a response, after you change this form, add a temporal card in your discard pile to your hand. This is busted. So this is just new tag, temporal. This is going to be something you're always looking for. Gives you access to the discard pile. This is one of my favorite things in design spaces in general, where you have access to hand, discard pile, and deck all at the same time. It's one of the reasons I think Rogue's the best character, because you have everything. But this is super cool. So big fan of this one. I don't know if you heard that. My dog just farted. Corn's killing me. Oh, okay, hero side, Bishop. So you can recycle your temporal cards. Now, what can you do as your hero? Bishop, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 1 defense. Hero, temporal X-Men, energy absorption. As a response, after Bishop takes any amount of damage from an attack, discard an equal number of cards from the top of your deck. Add each resource card discarded this way to your hand. Fascinating. So this is going to have you playing awkward resources. Maybe we'll get something like Psionic or Aerial that's specifically for the temporal trait. That could be kind of cool, leaning into the time manipulation theme. This is pretty dang powerful. So you're taking, gives me similar vibes to something like Spider-Ham, but definitely less broken for sure, because it's a lot more random. You have to, based on the amount of damage that you could get a lot more cards. That's kind of cool. So it is different while still being pretty strong. I like this effect. Hit points 12 and hand size 5. So big hit point stat. Missed the mark on the 14 though. Then we have Stored Energy. Okay, a resource card that's built into Bishop. Another card target. It's also a temporal card. So this is one that you could return to your hand when you do the flipped alter ego form. This seems pretty dang powerful. Moving forward, Malcolm, 3 cost ally, 1 thwart to attack, another temporal card, 3 health. Action, discard a resource card from your hand, ready Malcolm. If that card had a printed punch icon, heal 1 damage from Malcolm. Limit once per phase. This is super powerful. It's going to give you reasons to play different types of resource cards, whereas maybe there are some cards we'll see that get benefits from multiple types of resources. So I like that this card has 2 different symbols, and so it could potentially trigger multiple of these different effects. So this is a awesome ally, and this reminds me a little bit of Vision, where Vision was flipping into alter ego and using his ability on his alter ego support in order to just grab Viv over and over again. But Bishop has more freedom and more choice, which is always a plus. So I like it so far. This is crazy powerful. Moving to 36, this is Randall, 3 cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, temporal X-Men, 3 health. As an action, discard a resource card from your hand, ready Randall. If that card had printed lightning, heal a damage from Randall. So it's the same thing, Heal 1 damage if it's got a punch, heal 1 damage if it's got an attack. So it's the exact same thing, but on the thwarting side. Okay. I feel the same about this card that I did the last one. 2-cost upgrade. Bishop's Rifle. Temporal. Weapon. Restricted. Hero action. Attack. Exhaust Bishop's Rifle. Choose an enemy. Deal damage to that enemy for each resource card in your hand. This attack gains range. This is awesome. It works with the Domino support cards for range. It gives you ways to get around annoying retaliate characters. It also can scale up based on the sequencing that you're doing before you trigger its effect. So timing is important. This card's awesome. Super powerful, and this is one that you're going to want to get out ASAP. Next up is 2-cost upgrade Bishop's Uniform item Temporal as a response. After you resolve Bishop's energy absorption, that's the main ability on Bishop, exhaust the uniform, heal damage from Bishop for each resource card in your hand. Ooh, this is so good. So you get those resource cards for free, basically, which is so nice. Well, I guess technically you still are burning through other cards. You still take all the other damage, but this is an awesome way to get some healing. So you want to engage with your ability even more. This is an excellent effect. 0-cost upgrade, Supercharge, Superpower. Action, discard a resource card from your hand. Place 1 charge counter here for each resource icon on that card. Cool. This gives you other ways to use your resource cards. Hero Interrupt. When you make a basic attack, discard Supercharge, you get +2 attack for this attack for each charge counter here to a maximum of +8 attack. There's a good way to siphon cards, super similar to the card that Miss Marvel has, but it does have that additional cost of it has to be an attack action. You can't just throw it at something. So this is awesome. It's fair, balanced. It works in this package, and we've seen the power level of something like this. It's just damage that you can just hold on to. And it's also a 0-cost upgrade, so if you want, you could even use it to pay for something that we saw like with, I think it was Famine, the one that gets rid of the cards in front of you. It's something that's cheap that you can just get rid of to block something. Powerful. Number 3, or 3-cost event, Concussive Blast. Attack, Superpower, Hero action. Attack, deals 6 damage to an enemy. If you paid for this event with a resource card, Ready Bishop. This is so good. So you get a free Ready in, you have 6 damage, it's an attack, it's a superpower, got all the tags you want. This is a extremely solid card for any character if they had it, honestly. Yeah, it works particularly well here because of all the other synergies going on with it. This is awesome, but not crazy thematic or flavorful, anything like that. Ooh, 4-cost ally. Cable, Nathan Summers, leadership card, 2 thwart, 3 attack, psionic X-Force, 3 health. Response, after Cable thwarts and defeats a side scheme, draw a card. Doesn't have to be a player side scheme. So already this card is amazing. And then his thwart only has the 1 residual or consequential, and his attack has 2. So you're going to want to be thwarting, but you can do your attack for the final one. This is going to give you some flexibility with card draw. It is on the expensive side, but you are going to probably get your resources back. And 2 thwart is a lot for an ally. I think this card is pretty dang cool, and we'll see how it plays with the new side scheme mission mechanism that's present in the campaign. That seems pretty powerful because I don't know how it works, but potentially you don't take consequential damage from those or something like that. I don't know, but it sounds cool having another way to trigger this effect through something that's included with the campaign. Pretty awesome card. X23, 3-cost ally, Laura Kinney, 1 thwart, 3 attack, X-Force, 3 health. Response, after X23 attacks and defeats an enemy, ready her. After it attacks and defeats an enemy. So it's pretty good. I don't know how I feel about this one. This one is less inherent value because you're still taking the consequential damage, but it is awesome in burst. It's the same versatility and flexibility as something like Quicksilver or Speed have, where you're getting all the activations up front, so you don't have to put in the time investment to get it over multiple turns. So I could see this being powerful in a pinch. I do think that the 3 attack is incredibly good for a 3-cost, and you can do like a burst 9 damage with it, which is great. And you have several ways, particularly in the Bishop deck, to generate the resources required. So I think this will be an amazing card in general. Leadership already has all this incredible ally support, so getting to stack and get multiple activations, this is a super powerful card. Next is Legion, 3-cost ally neutral, David Haller, 1 thwart, 1 consequential, 1 attack, 1 consequential, psionic X-Men. Powerful psionic tag, 3 health. Response, after Legion uses a basic power, discard the top card of your deck. If that card's printed resource has a lightning bolt, deal 2 damage to an enemy, a brain, remove 2 threat from a side scheme, or a punch, heal 2 damage from a Legion. This card's nuts. This card is so good. It works with everything that we have that mills from the deck. It works super well in Bishop. It's going to work well in anything that plays Psionic, any type of value. This is my kind of card. I love cards like Wiccan. I love cards like Legion here, where you just get more value. You're not sure what you're going to get, and then you adapt to whatever situation. And you can also customize your deck in order to take advantage of it. So it gives me some feelings of something like Adam Warlock, where where you are anticipating being able to trigger special effects. This card is amazing. Legion, I love it. Next is Marrow. Sarah, 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 consequential, 2 attack, 1 consequential, 2 health, X-Force. Play only if you have the X-Force or X-Men trait. After Marrow enters play, deal 2 damage to an enemy. This card is so good. It's cheap. It does immediate damage. It hits for 2, so it's a 4 damage. That can block you for health. It's got the X-Force tag. This card is nuts. I think this card is super good, and this is one of those points where it's getting that critical mass of all the X-Force and X-Men cards where you're going to have a hard time picking and choosing between what incredibly valuable cards you want to put in your deck, because these all seem pretty dang generically good, and it is a neutral card after all. Whoa. 0-cost upgrade. Advanced Suit. Leadership card, armor, item, attached to an X-Force or X-Men ally, max 1 per ally. After they defeat a minion or side scheme, discard a card from your hand. Heal a damage from attached ally for each resource on this card. This is a different effect, and I like this a lot. You're turning cards that have multiple resources into effective healing, powerful healing. They do have to defeat something, but this is going to be a perfect pairing for the cards that we just saw, where they want to be defeating side schemes, minions. This is awesome. Now, this is specifically a side scheme, so that is something to keep in mind, but I think this will find its place in anything that reliably is putting those out. This is pretty powerful card. I like it. Advanced Suit, 0-cost upgrade, different, but also leans into a cool playstyle. Moving forward, 1-cost upgrade, Sidekick. This is super fun. Attached to an identity-specific ally you control. Awesome. Title. Attached ally gets +2 hit points and is your sidekick. After you make a basic recovery, heal 2 damage from attached ally. This is amazing. Can you imagine this with, we haven't seen her yet, but X23 has her best friend sidekick that you basically won out the whole game. This is going to be a fun way to make sure that your sidekick, your ally, signature ally, is out on the board for the majority of the game. If you're getting the free recovery on it, there's no reason to chump block with it because of just how much value you can get out of it. This card is amazing. I love sidekick. This is one of the funnest, most fun, fresh cards I've seen in a while. It's perfect, and it's going to affect every single hero that plays leadership. I think it's probably going to be my favorite aspect card so far. This is fantastic. This is Sidekick. So cool. 2-cost event, side by side. Hero action, ready your sidekick. Oh, interesting. So there are going to be cards that directly interact with sidekick. Okay, I'm into it. Ready your sidekick, ready your hero, and choose one. Heal 1 damage from both characters. Both characters get +1 thwart and +1 attack until the end of the phase. This is kind of awesome because it is essentially you are creating your own team up card with side by side. You're going to get to put it with whoever you decide to play sidekick with. It has the same like inconsistency where you have to find sidekick first before these become live. And then once it's out there, I do feel like you're going to be able to play side by side a bit more often because you don't have that temptation of using the character to chump. Sometimes when I'm playing the sidekick to play those team up cards, I always feel that weird choice of like, I really needed this person to die, but I'm waiting to draw my cool card, but I want to keep this out. But with sidekick, you're going to get that healing on that card. So this is going to be a lot more active because that character is probably going to be out most of the time. Getting both of the characters readied. Oh, it does ready both. So it's ready your sidekick and ready your hero, and then you heal a damage for both. This card is pretty dang powerful. It's like the Android healing card that Vision has access to and Rogue has access to, where you just get to heal and ready, but it's one more, but you get the ready on the ally. This is super good with an additional activation. This card is awesome. Side by side, and you're going to want, this card is super good. I love this. Okay, so those are all of Bishop's cards. Leadership aspect. So far, I'm all for it. All these leadership cards are unique and interesting and add brand new ways to play. Impressed with Bishop, and I want this leadership package bad. Next is Illyana Rasputin. 3 recovery, alter ego, mutant, mystic, hand size 6, hit points 10. Oh, another mystic character. Oh, give me all the cool cards. Let's do it. Interrupt when you change to hero form. Choose a spell in your discard pile and put it on top of your deck. Super powerful. Obviously not as good as our Bishop, getting the card directly into hand, but incredibly powerful because of the power level of those spell cards. Getting to recycle, knowing what's coming up. This is super good. Moving forward, Magik. 1 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, Mystic X-Men. This is cool because you have Bishop, who's our X-Force, and Magik, who is our X-Men. So you get flavor and support for both of the different archetypes that have been built up these past couple of years. This is excellent. And also support for Temporal as well as Mystic. So we're getting cards in this box for everything. I'm super impressed. I can't wait to play this. Let's look at what Magik does. Magik, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, hero, Mystic, X-Men, everything you could want. Play with the top card of your deck face up. Oh my gosh. Once per phase, you may play the top card of your deck as if it was in your hand, reducing its resource cost by 1. So your deck is now your I forget what it's called in Strange, your incantation deck. So your deck is the incantation deck. This is super powerful. I imagine there's going to be cards that care about what's on top. You now have all of this openness of abusing whatever is on the top of your deck, being able to predict things, getting that information beforehand. And if you've played Lord of the Rings, the LCG, there's I think it's the Gandalf deck that does this, or is it? I think it's the Gandalf deck. There's Norman Withers and Arkham Horror LCG. This deck is fun. The deck is fun because of the manipulation, because of the planning that goes into it, and the value. It always feels good to get to play extra cards, and this is going to lean into that concept. So I love this concept of a deck. Let's see how it's done in Marvel Champions. Moving forward, 1-cost support, Limbo, Dimension. Response: after the villain phase begins, exhaust Limbo. Swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. Action, exhaust Limbo. Swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. Sorry, response: after the villain phase begins, exhaust Limbo. Swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. And then action, exhaust Limbo. Swap a card in your hand with the top of your deck. This card is super powerful. It's going to enable a bunch of different plays, powers, abilities, let you set those symbols correctly. We saw Legion already, who cares about symbols. You're going to be able to trigger all the things that were in Domino, being able to mill stuff. I want to know what other things potentially care about the top of your deck. 2-cost upgrade, Magik's Crown. Magik gains steady. Super good. While the top card of your deck has one of these resources, Magik gets +1 thwart. That's something I didn't consider. Getting passive bonuses based on the icons on the top of your deck. And this is neat because you could have cards that provide multiple resources, like we saw with Bishop, and that could allow you to trigger multiples of these at the same time. This is a great card. 1-cost upgrade, Mystical Armor. Same type of thing. Magik gains Retaliate 1 armor. While the top card of your deck has those symbols, Lightning and Wild, Magik gets +1 defense. It's very fashionable in Limbo. Same concept as the last card. This is awesome. 1-cost upgrade. It's the same thing. Soulsword. Weapon. Restricted. Magik's basic attack gains piercings. That's passive. But while the top card of your deck has a punch or a wild resource, Magik gets +1 attack. Okay. I like these. They're cheap, easy to play, and they're going to be things that you're going to be bouncing back and forth with. This is an amazing card. Moving forward is 1-cost event, Stepping Disc. Superpower. Ready your hero. Power. Choose a magic card in your discard pile, not named Stepping Disc, and put it on top of your deck. This card's nuts. This card is super good. It's going to enable stuff. It's free. It's superpower, so it's basically free. It's going to set up all your combos, allow you to switch between your different modes. This is a powerful enabler. Scrying, 0-cost event. Oh my gosh. Look at top 3 cards of your deck, draw 1, discard 1, put 1 on top of your deck. This is nuts. This card is this is going to be incredible. This is going to be amazing. The amount of draw that this woman is going to have with the built-in neutral cards that are crazy good in Mystics. So you'll have Scryings, you'll have this. It's going to be a deck where you can do anything you want all the time. This is going to be a blast to play. You're going to be juicing this to the highest of difficulties because of how much control you have. You have access to every card in your deck with Scrying, with the, I think it's Spiritual Meditation, the draw 2, discard 1. This is absurdly powerful. So this is going to be one of those top tier characters, absolutely, where you're going to be ratcheting up the difficulty as high as you can because of just the amount of control you have. And then the ally for Magik is Colossus. 3-cost, Illyana Rasputin, 2 thwart, 1 consequential, 2 attack, 1 consequential. X-Men, 3 health, toughness. When an enemy attacks you, play Colossus from your hand and declare him the defender without exhaustion. That last line there is awesome. Play them. This is what Pip the Troll should have been, and the overlap between this and Pip the Troll is there. They're basically the same card, but Colossus is better statted, doesn't exhaust, you get to use right away. You get full use out of the toughness. We have Colossus at home is Pip the Troll. This is quite sad for Pip. Unfortunate, but this card is excellent. Moving forward, Goldballs. Okay, so Magik is aggression aspect, 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 consequential, 1 attack, 1 consequential, 3 health, X-Men. Interrupt. When Goldballs attacks, discard up to 3 cards to the top of your deck. Goldballs gets +X attack from this attack, where X is the number of cards discarded this way. I didn't choose the name, you poor soul. I'm so sorry for you. This card is super good. You're going to be able to deal 4 damage. Discard to 3. Gold +1 attack. Yep. Yeah, this card's nuts. It's another enabler for all of the synergy for the mill support. It's well statted. 3-cost for 12 damage over multiple turns is super good. You can use things to heal this, get multiple uses out of it. This card is just pretty powerful. Nothing game breaking, but super powerful. That's not true. This could be, there's once it gets that critical mass thing where if you get enough of the milling cards, everything gets kind of absurd and insane. But it does always have that luck factor where you're going to want to try to get additional value, and you could stuff the millers with the things that want to be mills too much, which I think is fun because having to find that balance. And I think just discarding cards is always exciting for me with games like this where you have a chance to always recycle them and get them back, and there's something else you can get. So I like this concept a lot. Super fun. Next is Tempus, 2-cost ally. Ava Bell, 1 thwart, 1 consequential, 1 attack, 1 consequential, 2 health, X-Men. Play only if your identity has the X-Men trait. Interrupt, when the villain would scheme, discard Tempus. Cancel that activation, deal yourself a face-down encounter card. This is unique and powerful and a perfect ally for aggression. This is going to make Scott Summers amazing. This is an even better card in Cyclops. I'm just looking at all these X-Men cards in general and just thinking about their application with him. But this card is awesome. This is one of those amazing aggression cards that covers their weakness while still being different, and you have to deal with the consequences. So it does give you an out to recover, heal, use all your alter ego support. This is a great card. 1-cost upgrade, Blood Rage. Condition, max 1 per player. Response, after you defeat an enemy with a basic attack, exhaust Blood Rage, take 1 damage, draw 1 card. Ooh, this card's pretty good. This card is awesome. It's cheap to play. You're going to want it out there. You're going to get it triggering multiple times throughout the game, and you can just get passive value. This card is super good. Number 4, 4-cost event, full body charge, attack, hero action, attack, deal 8 damage to an enemy. If your hero's remaining hit points are less than half of your hero's starting hit points, this attack gains overkill. This card is pretty expensive. You're not going to care about the overkill unless you're hitting a minion. There are cheaper options that do a comparable amount of damage, a probably even better rate. I'm just thinking base game, Relentless Assault. This one is okay. I do love the fact that it's super expensive because that means that you're going to get gigantic value when you use it's the same one that you use for the giant dive bomb attack. I don't know what it's called, but you spend the brain resources and you get the extra damage. So that is going to be pretty fun, dealing a 12 damage attack with overkill to a minion. So that is something to be aware of, but not super flashy. I do like this challenge, though, of having a low health pool and doing your best to abuse this. It's going to be fun in Deadpool, who's basically wants to take as much damage as possible. It's going to lead to some super fast games. Full body charge. Good card. Next is 1-cost upgrade, test the defense. Skill, max 1 per player. Response, after you play an attack event, place a test counter here. There are 5 test counters here. Discard this card to deal 5 damage to an enemy. This is pretty long. It's a pretty delayed card. It gives me like Quinjet vibes where you got to wait a long time for it to be valuable. But that 5 damage is going to be super nice. This is a card where you sort of play it and forget it. And then when it happens, you're like, heck yes, 5 damage. And you can either just send it straight to the villain or send it to a minion that's dealing some trouble, or maybe that just showed up from a reshuffle. So it helps equalize the playing field. So I think this card is actually pretty cool, especially if your deck is focused on using and playing frequently the attack events. I think playing 1 of these or 2 of these could be fun, especially if you're getting multiple counters at a time. So I do like this card. It is different, which is fun. It does take a long time to trigger. 5 attacks is a lot of attack events. I guess if you're a character like Nova or something who's able to generate a bunch of these cards and just play a bunch of short bursts of small attack cards, that could be good. Next is 0-cost upgrade, neutral, Blood Gem. Item, play only if your identity has the Mystic trait, max 1 per deck, a resource, exhaust Blood Gem, and take 2 damage, generate a wild resource. This card is pretty good. Yeah, this is just another card to add to the absolutely busted arsenal of Mystic powers. I don't know if that's hilarious. This is a Magik reference, isn't it? Yes, is that what this is? This is a Magik reference? I'm not sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But I think this card is good. Anything that costs 0 is generally pretty good, and then you can use it to immediately pay for itself. This card is crazy. Next, basic spell. This is pretty funny. 2-cost event, basic spell. Spell, play if your identity has the Mystic trait. Choose 1. Heal 3 from an identity, remove 3 from a scheme, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Not as busted as everything else, but the flexibility. Will it earn this card a spot in your deck? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you put this in a Mystic deck? Do you care about this? Would you rather have something that's just absolutely absurd than something generic but flexible? This is a lot of choices, though. Remove 3 threat from a scheme, deal 3 damage to an enemy, heal 3 damage from an identity. So it doesn't have to be you. It can't be a ally, though, which I do think is a little bit weak. I don't know if I would play this myself. Probably not. Your cards are going to just be better in general. So I don't think I would play Basic Spell. Just looking at it at face value right now, I think that you already have so much stuff you need to cram into that deck. So I don't think Basic Spell is going to make the cut for me myself. But if I am just goofing around or want to play whatever I want, I'll probably play these just to try them for sure. But that's it. That's our last card. That's card number 63 of 63. And that's the Age of Apocalypse. Holy cow, this was a huge set. And I'm just going to say that this is probably the most excited I've been for a set. I think that it was cool. It is cool when you get like these brand new keywords from a set, like we saw the X-Force box. Exciting. New stuff, new different play styles. But having cards that are bringing life into previous archetypes, that's something that I'm always here for. This reinforces super old archetypes, but also all the brand new archetypes and puts a cool merging between the two. You have a character that we're familiar with the mechanisms from in Magik who's going to be doing that flipping and revealing, and that playstyle is like proven fun. So that's exciting to have this in Marvel Champions, and the character herself is insane, honestly. This is going to be super fun to bully Ronan or bully whoever with them. And then Bishop is a cool take on this give and take of trying to get as much damage as possible to get max value, and that's going to be rewarding. So I love these two heroes. I love that support for previous archetypes. We have seen a lot of the concepts in the encounter sets a lot before, but I actually love this concept of the gene pool set. And it looks like Unus uses the gene pool set, which is the one that gets special abilities the more they accrue threat on this additional scheme that just doesn't do anything but powers up the minions. But it looks like that is also just a separate encounter set that you can use in everything. So you have awesome encounter stuff. You have awesome hero stuff that's going to breathe new life into all these pre-existing archetypes. This looks like an amazing box. So that is just the overview in general, my impressions of Age of Apocalypse. Yeah, definitely pre-ordering this. I think if you play Marvel Champions, you probably already pre-ordering this. But these two heroes, Bishop and Magik, look amazing. So let's get into the most anticipated. So most anticipated card for the encounter set, I pretty much already talked about this. This is the Gene Pool encounter set. So having that additional objective that you have to do that's present throughout the game, something you can plan for, and you know that the enemies are going to scale as time goes on. And I think you see it specifically in the Infinite Soldiers here, where you're going to have to plan on dealing with the Quick Strike, the Surge, the extra hit points if you are ignoring that side scheme. So I love this concept of just having a scheme that you got to deal with, and then it doesn't actually do anything. So it's a thing that you could choose to engage with, and if you don't, it will make things harder. But that is something that you're giving up to do something else. And that's one of the best parts in Marvel Champions is I need to give up this one thing to do this other thing. And I think this does it beautifully in the encounter set way. So that's the best one here. That is the Infinites side scheme for the most anticipated encounter set. Now, moving forward, let's go to the most anticipated hero card. I'm going to do one for each of the characters. So most anticipated hero card for Bishop. Most anticipated card for Bishop, let's do most of the cards were kind of generic if we're being awesome. Let's flip through these cards really quick. So Bishop's Rifle, that card is just powerful. The uniform is super useful. This is going to want you to engage. I don't know if it's like anything incredibly stand out on its own though. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go with Bishop's Uniform. When you have Bishop's Uniform out, you are going to more likely be engaging with your special ability, which means you're doing your engine and you're running your thing. So that makes sense to me. I think that you're always going to want to get this card out as soon as possible. You're going to give up that turn to make sure it's out on the board because that's going to propel you further and allow you to recover from taking the hits to get more value. So I think that this is going to be the best card that you're going to want to make sure is out because it's going to trigger everything else, and it's going to feel so good when you hit multiple research cards and heal multiple hit points. Yeah, it's going to feel great. So that's going to be my standout card here, my most anticipated card for Bishop, and that is Bishop's Uniform. Now moving on to Magik. Magik is crazy good. Looking at Magik's cards, I think it might be, I could choose Scrying because this card is just busted in general. I think it gives you card draw and so many choices. This card is nuts. But I think I'm going to choose Stepping Disc. I think that Stepping Disc is going to set up every other card, which is crazy powerful. And it's also going to give you the chance to shift between all of her items. So it engages with her cards. it also engages with all of her form changing with her weapons and armor and swords. So I think that the disc is going to be the most exciting one when you get it. You're like, ooh, I can do anything I want on my turn. I can be flexible. I can swap between my different power sets. So Stepping Disc is going to be my most anticipated card for Magic. But if we're going raw power, just for the facilitation of everything else, it's going to be Scrying. Scrying is clearly busted. Anything that gets you that deep into your deck, this is nuts. With all of the other stuff that Mystic has access to, crazy powerful. We'll go into the most anticipated card for aspects. This one, let's go for leadership. I think it's got to be the Sidekick. This is so much fun. This is when it came out. Thought about everything, every single set that exists. How fun is this going to be to have a dedicated sidekick and then have support cards that work for the sidekick? This is such a fun concept, and I can see them playing more with this in the future. I love this card. That is Sidekick. And then I guess we'll do one for aggression as well, since Bishop came with leadership. Our aggression card is going to be... Is it Goldballs? I think it might be Goldballs. No, it's got to be Tempus. Tempus is crazy good. So it's a way to ignore the enemy's scheming without engaging with the status conditions. So I think that's super powerful. And one thing I loved, Psylocke's release. Psylocke's release allowed you to have a character that could reliably confuse something. But then you get enemies that have Stalwart, that have steady, and you just can't deal with it sometimes. And you have to flip, and you're going to lose because you just can't do anything about it. Tempest allows you to get around that. It has that safety net so where you can flip reliably at least once per cycle. Seems extremely powerful, but the cost is there. So I like Tempest a lot. Cool way to circumvent that without necessarily digging into the confusion aspect. And then for the cards, this one is definitely going, the neutral cards for my standout neutral card. This has to go to Legion. Most anticipated card for neutral. It's got to go to Legion. So Legion is neutral ally. Where are they at? Where are you at, Legion? Where was Legion? Legion was with Bishop, is that right? Probably. Let's move forward down. So yes, I think Legion just sounds super fun. Cool inverse on something like Adam Warlock. You're manipulating the top of your deck with both of these characters, and then you get additional benefits based on the type of resource. It gives you super cool powerfuls, super cool abilities if you have cards with multi-resources in them. So think Rocket Raccoon or think Gambit. So this could be a great card in both of those. It's also psionic, so you have the overlap on the resource production from those cards. This card is just super playable in pretty much any deck, and even if you don't have cards that directly synergize with it, it's still going to be pretty dang good value. I love cards like this with those random effects that you adapt to. It's one of the reasons I like Scarlet Witch so much. This is an excellent card. So that is Legion, my most anticipated neutral card. And that's it. Those are all of the cards from the Age of Apocalypse that have been revealed so far. And I'm sure there's much more that are going to bring more out to what exists for Marvel Champions. If you're watching, thank you so much for being here live. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, what are you most excited for? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about this new release for Age of Apocalypse, what you think about my picks. Do you agree with my most anticipated cards? And what are your most anticipated cards for this set? Which villain are you excited to play the most? And which villain do you hope shows up in the box as well? But thank you so much for watching. And one quick thing before we close the video, I want to make sure that I shout out our channel partner. This is Into the AM Studios. Into the AM Studios provides all sorts of t-shirts. They do help out SideGame LLC here by giving us an additional way to make some revenue. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy a t-shirt from their website using our coupon code. This is SideGame Strong. You'll get 10% off of your order, and we'll get direct kickback from that purchase. There's other ways to support the channel, of course, but this is one way that you could do it without necessarily buying board games. But appreciate the support, and thank you so much for being here. Make sure to use SideGame Strong for that additional discount. But thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of Age of Apocalypse, what you think on my takes on this, and what cards should I be taking a second look at to breathe some new life into the Marvel Champions collection. But thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong, y'all.